Daniel ignored a phone call that morning. It didn't feel important. Just another call, another moment he could come back to later. But a few hours later, he would realize that was the one call he should have never missed. And what made it worse, he almost answered it. The house had become quiet, not suddenly, but slowly, like silence settling in one day at a time. Daniel sat by the window with his morning coffee, watching the world move on without him. Neighbors walked their dogs. Cars pulled out of driveways. Someone jogged past, lost in their own world. Life was moving, just not his. He didn't complain. This was his routine now. Simple, predictable, safe, too safe. And the strange thing was, he didn't even realize how much that quiet had changed him. There was a time when his life wasn't like this, not extraordinary but full. People needed him, talked to him, relied on him. Back then, silence felt rare. Now, it felt permanent. Sometimes he turned on the radio not to listen, but just to hear something, anything. That morning, something felt different, not wrong, just off. Then his phone rang. He glanced down. Helen, his older sister. Helen never called for a reason. She called because she cared. Sometimes she talked about nothing. Sometimes she just laughed. Sometimes she just asked, "Are you okay?" The phone kept ringing. Daniel picked it up, looked at the screen. His thumb hovered just above the button. One tap, that's all it would take, but he didn't. "I'll call her in a bit." And right there, that small, simple decision quietly changed everything. The call stopped, and just like that, the moment passed. Daniel went on with his morning, finished his coffee, rinsed the cup, watered the plants, normal things, easy things, but every now and then his eyes drifted back to the phone. Call her. He picked it up once. Her name was still there, waiting. His thumb hovered again. One tap, just one. "I'll finish a few things first," and he put it down. It wasn't that he didn't care. That's what makes this harder. It's that he thought there would always be more time. After their parents were gone, Helen never said much. She just showed up, checking in, calling often, making sure he was okay. "Did you eat? Are you home?" Small things that didn't feel important until they were. The morning slipped into afternoon, quietly, like it always did, but something felt different now. The house felt still, too still, like something was missing, and that's when the day started to change. The phone rang again. Daniel turned quickly, a small sense of relief. Maybe it was her, but it wasn't. Unknown number. He answered, "Hello. Hi, is this Daniel?" The voice was calm, too calm. "I'm calling from your sister's neighborhood. There's been a situation." The words came slowly, carefully. Helen had been feeling weak, unable to move properly. A neighbor found her. They had tried calling family, tried calling him. Earlier. And in that moment, everything stopped. Daniel didn't speak, he just stood there. His eyes moved toward the table. The phone, the same call, the same moment. The one he said he'd return in a bit. That sentence didn't feel casual anymore. It felt heavy, unfinished. Helen never called for help. She called to talk, to laugh, to stay connected. And somehow that made this moment hurt more, because now he didn't know if he still had that chance. He grabbed his keys and stepped outside. The world hadn't changed. Cars passed, people walked, life moved forward, but inside him, everything had shifted. The drive felt longer than usual, every second louder. His mind replayed the same moment, again and again, the phone ringing, his hand picking it up and putting it back down. Such a small decision, so easy to make, and now impossible to undo. As he sat in his car, hands on the wheel, he understood something. This wasn't about being busy. It wasn't about timing. It was about... He didn't remember the drive clearly, just flashes. A red light that felt longer than usual. A turn he almost missed. The sound of his own breathing louder than the engine. Everything outside moved normally, but inside nothing felt normal anymore. His hands tightened on the steering wheel, not out of panic, but out of something heavier. Regret. It sat quietly, but it was there, in every second, every thought, every breath. He kept replaying that moment, the phone ringing, her name on the screen, his finger hovering, and then pulling away. Such a small pause, such a small delay, and now it felt like the longest moment of his life. When he reached Helen Street, nothing looked different. The same houses, the same parked cars, the same quiet afternoon. But something about it felt unfamiliar, like the place hadn't changed, but he had. He parked the car but didn't step out immediately. For a second, he just sat there, hands still on the wheel, eyes fixed ahead, as if stepping out would make everything real, and part of him wasn't ready for that. He took a slow breath, then another, and finally opened the door. Each step toward the house felt heavier than the last, not because the distance was long, but because of what waited at the end of it. The front door was slightly open, just like they had said. He paused there, his hand resting lightly against it, and memories rushed in without warning. Standing at this same door years ago, Helen opening it with a smile, telling him to come in like he didn't need an invitation. He pushed the door open gently. The house was quiet, not the peaceful kind of quiet, but the kind that makes you aware of every sound, every movement, every breath. A neighbor stood inside, speaking softly to someone on the phone. They looked at Daniel and gave a small nod, not a greeting, not comfort, just acknowledgement. He stepped further in, and then he saw her. She was sitting on a chair now, supported, resting. She looked smaller somehow, not physically, but in the way strength leaves a person quietly. Her eyes lifted slowly, and when she saw him, she gave a faint smile. Hey, it was soft, weak, but still her. Daniel felt something tighten in his chest, not sharp, not sudden, just deep. He walked closer, each step slower than the last. Hey, he said back, but his voice didn't sound like his own. It sounded heavier. She looked at him for a moment, longer than usual, like she was trying to read something on his face. You didn't pick up, she said gently, not accusing, not hurt, just stating it. And somehow that made it harder. Daniel looked down for a second, then back at her. I was going to call you, he said, and even as he said it, he knew how empty it sounded. She nodded slightly. I know. That was it, no anger, no questions, no disappointment, just understanding. And somehow that hurt more than anything else because she didn't need an explanation. She had already forgiven him before he even arrived. He pulled a chair closer and sat beside her. For a moment, neither of them spoke. There was nothing urgent to say, no dramatic words, just presence, something so simple, yet something he had delayed for no reason. I was just feeling a little off, she said after a while. They said I should rest, Daniel nodded. I'm here now, he replied quietly, but the words carried something deeper, not just reassurance, but a promise, a realization, a change. She smiled again, a little stronger this time. Good, she said. Silence returned, but this time it felt different, not empty, not distant, just shared. Daniel looked around the room. Nothing had changed, the same furniture, the same light coming through the window. Everything looked exactly the same, but something inside him was not the same anymore. He realized something then, not suddenly, not dramatically, just clearly. Moments don't disappear loudly. They don't announce themselves. They just pass quietly, like that morning, like that call, like that decision. And if you're not careful, you don't notice what they meant until later. He looked at Helen again, still sitting there, still here, and for the first time that day, he allowed himself to feel something else. Not regret, not fear, just gratitude. Because this time later had come, and it had given